The Bible has all of these beautiful verses that tells us what a man is supposed to do, what a woman is supposed to do, what a husband is supposed to do, what a wife is supposed to do. And they go hand in hand. God don't do nothing out of order. Satan is the author of confusion, not God. Do you mind if we go deep on marriage today? Yesterday I put out a video where I reacted to a woman on a podcast talking about how she views marriage. We're going to play that video in a second because I think it's an important piece to what I really want to show y'all today. So I'm going to basically react to my own video. And then I got a lot of other stuff I want to show y'all as well, because I think this is probably one of the most important things that we should be focusing on. Creating healthy marriages and helping people stay married and getting people to see just how serious marriage is and why we shouldn't take it lightly. You know what I'm saying? I believe I'm from the camp of, if you fix the family unit, we'll be able to fix so many other problems that exist in this world. A lot of things stem from broken homes. So if we want to get rid of the problems that come from having broken homes, then it's only natural that we should want to fix family. So that's why I go in on marriage and relationships the way I do. It's not that I really want everybody to fiend for a relationship or just sit around and feel like they're purposeless without one. I'm just saying that once you get to the point where you do want to be in a marriage, I want you to look at it from the right point of view, so you don't go out here and, first and foremost, enter into a relationship with the wrong person. And then number two, once you into that relationship, you don't do things or take your eye off the prize so that you end up getting a divorce. Let me just go ahead and get into it. I don't want to talk too much. This video already probably going to run a little long. So let's just go ahead and get into this and get this thing going.
I think that people who stay in relationships for the sake of time, because we've been together for so long, without understanding or asking themselves, are we still aligned though?
Hold on 1 second. Let me move that over there because it's causing a problem with my screen. All right, let's go.
Right. I think
this is why people shouldn't get married if they don't have a relationship with God first.
I've had 2 divorces. My first husband, we lasted 6 months. The second one, we were together for 12 years. And I think when I exited that relationship or started to exit that relationship, I felt like I had failed. And a lot of my work at that time was looking at the end of a relationship differently. And so I think that when we look at the end of a relationship as failure, we want to stay because as people, we naturally want to win. Without understanding that sometimes relationships are just meant for a season, or meant to get you to a certain point in your life. Like my first husband, I used to run track. So look at it like a relay race, right? My first husband was the first leg of my race. My second husband was like the second leg of my race. I don't intend to have 4 husbands, but
with this attitude, she gonna end up with 4 husbands. If you have this mindset, I would just say, just don't get married. Just don't put yourself or another person through all of this stuff that comes with monkey branching from relationship, from marriage to marriage. Let's say you end up having kids with one of these people that you marry. You just gonna break up with them because you just don't feel like being with them no more. And then your kids are gonna grow up in a single parent household, not really knowing what a happy, successful relationship looks like ever. They're not gonna fully be loved the way they're supposed to be. There's gonna be holes and there's gonna be different ways of raising these kids because they're gonna be in two different households. All because you just decided I can pick up and move when I feel like it. There's a reason that God hates divorce. I can understand if you're in a relationship that's abusive, or if you're in a relationship with somebody and they cheat on you. I can understand divorcing for that, right? But just deciding this ain't serving me no more, or I just don't want to do this no more, that's a terrible reason to break your family up.
But it is thinking like, okay, this was for this part of my journey. We walked this other part of my journey together and that came to an end. And now it's time to walk the next part of my journey. And that person might not have done the work to walk that part of my journey with me, might not be equipped to support me in that journey. And I might not even desire to support them based on where I'm at on my journey. And so I think that people who stay in relationships for.
I just want to pause for a second and respond to what she just said, saying that the person might not have done the work to support her in this part of her journey and all this and that. I want to say this. We know that you grow from going through things, right? So in a marriage, you're one. And yeah, things happen to you and things may happen to your husband, and you're a individual in a union, right? So y'all go to work and you got certain things you dealing with at work, and he go to work and he got certain things he dealing with at work, and then y'all come home together, and then y'all got to figure out how to deal with the emotions and manage the tensions and all that kind of stuff that's going on in the home, right? You both bring things to the marriage. Well, you are supposed to grow together through the struggle that you go through. Like that's the way God works. Let's say right now you pray about something. Let's say you got something going on in your life, and you come to God and you give it to God and you say, Lord, I'm going through so and so and I need your help. And oh Lord, help me to be more patient, Lord, and help me to do this and help me to do that. Right? What ends up happening is that same thing that you pray for, God allows you to have more opportunity to work on that thing that you're dealing with. So if you're struggling with patience, God don't remove things from your life that test your patience. God give you more things in your life that's going to test your patience. Why? So you can grow from it. So when you go through a period of struggle in a marriage, that's an opportunity to grow. That's not the opportunity for you to say, you know what, hey, I ain't signed up for this. I ain't signed up for you to be getting on my nerves. You ain't listening to me. You ain't doing what I want you to do. So I'm going to go on about my business. That's the time when you buckle down and you figure out what the root of the problem is, and y'all stay on the same page and do what God wants y'all to do so that y'all can go to the next level. That's what you do when you go through struggle. And I said it already. You know what? I ain't even going to say it because I'm going to say it in this video. So I'll let the video say what I was just about to say. But that's what I just want y'all to understand, man. People think that marriage is supposed to be like the Disney version of marriage, where we have butterflies every day and we look at each other and can just cry because we just so beautiful to each other. And, you know, that's a part of it sometimes, right? But the reality is much more different because we're living in this crazy world, and we're dealing with spiritual warfare, and we're dealing with all of these different things that we're dealing. We managing all these emotions. We got kids, we got family, we got extended family, we got people on our jobs, we got businesses we build and we running them and this and that. There's stress. There's real life happening. So the Beauty and the Beast version of, oh, I saw him and he you know what I'm saying? Oh my God, I just he make me so happy, and oh, I just don't want this to end forever, ever. I don't want it to ever end, and oh, the way he make me feel like I'm floating and this and that. That's not gonna happen every day. And the more God is calling you to, the more struggle you're going to enter into. If God is using you and your husband or you and your wife to do something huge, you're going to go through a huge amount of spiritual warfare. That's why people that enter into the space, like for instance, myself, I'm trying to help heal the state of relationships in the world that we live in because of the reason that I said earlier. I believe that if we fix the family, we can fix a lot of the other problems that exist in this world. Guess what? Satan don't want us to fix none of this. So me and my wife go through the most spiritual warfare. And if she don't understand that, and if she don't listen to me and trust me and allow me to show her, hey, look, this is what's going on. This is how we got to handle it. I done talked to God about it. I've been praying on this. I saw this coming. I knew this was going to happen. I'm prepared for this. If she don't trust me when I come to her like that, then it just causes problems for us.
For the sake of time, because we've been together for so long, without understanding or asking themselves, are we still aligned though?
Right.
I think
this is why people shouldn't get married if they don't have a relationship with God first. A marriage is going to be hard. A relationship in general is going to be hard. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be struggles. There's going to be good times. There's going to be bad times. Sometimes you may not necessarily like your partner. They might get on your nerves. They might be tripping. But you still have to keep pushing and figure it out. People that have this mindset of, oh, I'm not happy, so I'm going to go on about my business. They're the worst type of people to be in a relationship with. They don't understand what a marriage is all about. They just want to say, I have somebody. They just want the wedding day. They just want to be able to say, oh, I have a husband, or, oh, I got a wife. And you know what I'm saying? People don't even understand the purpose of marriage today. A lot of people are looking for somebody to worship them. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing too. You see a lot of people online talking about how, women don't know how to submit. They want somebody to praise and worship them like they're God. They want to become God in their woman's eyes, right? But newsflash, if you're a man that's not submitted to God, your woman shouldn't be submitting to you. The key to it all is submission to God, first and foremost. If you or your wife ain't submitted to God, you're going to have problems. Period, point blank. You're not God. She's not God. God is God. Y'all were created to serve him. The sooner you learn that, remember that, and act on that, the better off your life is going to be. You know, it's about serving. First, serving God. First and foremost, serving God. And because you serve God, because you want to be pleasing to God, you serve each other. That's really how that goes, you know? Something that I've often told my wife, God's standards are way higher than ours. So if we choose to serve God, if we choose to just live life and act the way that God wants us to act, fill the roles that God wants us to fill, just by the nature of being pleasing to God and being obedient, we'll please each other. So if you're out of alignment with your spouse, it's because one or both of you are out of alignment with God.
they do themselves a disservice because now you are literally hitching yourself to something that is not helping you grow just because you put so much time into it. Right. And you can grow so much more if you say, you know what, I'm going to bring this to a close. I respect you. I love you. I honor you for what we have completed in this time frame, but I think it's time to move to the next stage.
Yeah. One of the things you also talk about is staying intentionally single.
It's funny to me. This page, they're promoting therapy for Black people and stuff like that, but this woman is talking about one of the things, she's encouraging one of the things that causes a lot of trauma, has already caused a lot of trauma in our community. Look at all these broken homes. Look at all the kids that are growing up without their mom and their dad showing them a good example. How many children do you see that grow up, get in trouble, go to jail and all that stuff, right? And then you sit down and you talk to them or you hear their story and all of them are saying, oh, my daddy wasn't there, so I was out there trying to find the love that my daddy never gave me in the streets. Why do you think that's happening? Because people, first and foremost, have no interest in large part in living their lives in the way God intended for us to live. We want to live our life outside of God. We want to live our life the way we want to live it. We want to chase the pleasure that we want, right? Never mind being pleasing to God. I want to please myself first and foremost. And then one of the things that's so prevalent in this culture is the idea that there's better out there for me, or because things get hard, I can just quit and I can go and start something new because I shouldn't have to struggle in any kind of way. I shouldn't have to deal with any contention in my life or anybody that doesn't validate me. I shouldn't have to deal with them. And then you wonder why we don't have relationships that last 30 and 40 and 50 years that much no more. Because so many people look at other people like we're disposable. You don't make me happy anymore, so I just get rid of you. And again, we've started families. We have children. Our job is to make sure our children have the best example. They have a head start. We're supposed to make sure they have some type of advantage, right? We're supposed to leave an inheritance for our children's children's children. How can we do that if we're constantly splitting our families apart? It's crazy to me, man. Don't take advice like this. First and foremost, if you have something that's going on with you mentally, you need to focus on your healing. You don't need to be dating. You don't need to be looking for no husband. You don't need to be looking for no wife. You need to be looking to heal from whatever trauma you went through. You need to be looking for a relationship with your creator. You need to be trying to build a relationship with God, right? Get a Bible, join a church, watch some YouTube videos from some people that actually follow Christ. Do that type of stuff right now. This is the season where you just need to focus on becoming the best version of yourself you can be. Because if you don't, you always gonna have problems in whatever relationship you get in. You know, and I'm gonna tell you this: if you're not serving God, you're serving somebody else. And that's one of the biggest problems that a lot of people have in relationships today. A lot of people, because they come to relationships in brokenness, they end up wanting to be served. They want you to make them your God. They essentially want to come into a relationship and become an idol. We know what the Bible says about idolatry, right? That's all I'm going to say about that, man. I'll see y'all in the next. So, y'all see that video. I said a mouthful, right? I was scrolling through the comment section and I came across a comment that I want to read to y'all because she said something in here that kind of like, this is what made me say, you know what, I need to just go deeper on what the purpose of a marriage actually is. Because it's clear that what she's been through, what she's seen in her life has caused her to have a certain worldview on marriage, and it's not healthy. Well, let's just go ahead and get into it. She says, well, yeah, I understand what she's saying. If you're not happy with your companion, you move on. That makes sense to me. Because why stay with someone when you're not happy with them? The idea of having children and becoming a single parent is not a reason to stay with someone you're unhappy with. Just because parents break up doesn't mean they can't continue loving and doing for their children. What I want to say in response to that is, look, I grew up in a single parent household. I have a good relationship with my dad now. Actually, a great relationship with my dad now. I've always had a great relationship with my mom. I can tell you that when I look back over my life, there's things that I missed out on because they weren't together, because they didn't do things the right way. So, I will never say that staying with your spouse, especially if you have children, shouldn't be one of the most important things to you once you have children, because it affects people's lives. Like, people right now today, millions of people right now today have all kinds of childhood trauma that they didn't heal from. Because if you boil it down, they didn't have two people at home watching out for their interests. You know what I'm saying? As for understanding the purpose of marriage, it seems to be based more on business than true love and companionship. And that doesn't make sense to me. Getting married means getting involved with someone else's dependency and supplying something to them. And to me, that's subjecting yourself to oppression. And why do that? You know, I done heard that several times online. People saying that marriage is like slavery and stuff like that. And that's not what it is when it's done right. That's not what it is when it's done in Christ. When you have God in your relationship, it's not slavery. There's some people that think believing in God and following Christ is slavery, but it's not. What in the world is this just popped up on my screen? My bad, but it's not. That I say because in my experience, I found that business-based relationships are always in vain and never appreciated nor reciprocated. You just spend your life supplying and flunkying for someone, and you're like Cinderella being used. And feelings of obligation to being a Cinderella or a Cinderfella is what keeps you in a relationship or a marriage. And I'm sorry, but that just simply makes no sense to me. And it's precisely why I never wanted to be married. That life doesn't appeal to me at all. And on top of that, all married men cheat. Listen, that's something that is commonly said, that all men cheat. Now she's saying all married men cheat. That's not true. The whole entire time I've been with my wife, I haven't entertained another woman. I ain't flirted with another woman. I haven't tried to double back and mess with no old fling from back in the day. I ain't done nothing like that. I've been 110% committed to my wife. You know what I'm saying? So that's not true. There are some men that cheat. There's a lot of people in general that cheat, and that's shameful. For you to go out into the streets and mess around with somebody outside of your marriage and jeopardize everything, jeopardize your future, your spouse's future, and if you got kids, you jeopardize their future. It's selfish, it's stupid, and I mean, you see this trend where men want to dismiss it and say it's okay. No, it's not okay. If you got a friend that's cheating on his wife, it's shameful. You shouldn't want to deal with him. You shouldn't hang around him. You shouldn't let him be around you. That's behavior that no man or a woman should tolerate. Which is another, and on top of that, all married men cheat, which is another reason why getting married makes no sense. A common argument for staying married is children, but cheating husbands impregnate other women, and there is no concern about those additional children, which makes the first argument a fluke. It's just a smokescreen for the real motive for staying married. Again, she sounds real jaded, like every relationship she's ever seen has resulted in somebody cheating or having an outside baby or somebody being abused in a relationship or something like that. And like I said, it's sad And I understand that this is something that a lot of people go through, just not being able to see the example. It causes them to have these ideas in their mind, and it throws them off. They don't know how to approach relationships. They don't know, they've never seen a healthy relationship, so they don't know how to be healthy minded. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the reasons why I'm making this video. This is why I felt like I had to make this video. I'm making this video for people like her. And what I really want to do, I've been telling y'all about the resources that I use for Bible study, right? I named this website called gotquestions.org. I'm going to read y'all an article about what the purpose of marriage is. You know, I've been studying the Bible for a minute, so I pretty much have already I constantly study relationships. Why? Because I want to approach my advice and my perspective on marriage and relationships from a biblical point of view. So I constantly study what the Bible says about relationships and marriage specifically. So I already know a lot of this stuff, but I just want to show y'all. Like I said, I'm reading from using one of the resources that I use, because this is another thing that I want to help people with on this channel, and that's becoming closer with God. So this right here is a resource that I use besides just normal Bible study and study Bibles and commentaries and things like that. Sometimes I just go right here on gotquestions.org and just ask a question. That's what it says. Ask God questions, biblical answers, right there at the top. So I just went in and I typed, what is the purpose of marriage? The answer says, is it necessary for a Christian to marry? What is the purpose of a marriage? The Bible has a lot to say about this topic, since the first marriage was between the first man and the first woman. It is assumed that marriage is God's will for most people. It was instituted in the dispensation of innocence and is therefore a holy institution. The first reason that the Bible gives for the existence of marriage is simple. Adam was lonely and needed a helper. That's the Bible verse right there, Genesis 2, verse 18. That's one of the things about this site that I like. They actually back up what they're saying with Bible, and they put the link to the Bible verse right there. Genesis 2, verse 18 says, then the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. That's Eve talking about. This is the primary purpose of marriage: fellowship, companionship, and mutual help and comfort. One purpose of marriage is to create a stable home in which children can grow and thrive. The best marriage is between two believers who can produce godly offspring. So when you make comments like, oh, staying in a marriage for your children is stupid, or I don't think that's a good enough reason to stay in a marriage, one of the actual purposes of marriage is to produce godly offspring. In Malachi, God tells the Israelites that he will not accept their offerings because they have been unfaithful to the wives of their youth. This shows how much God cares about marriage being kept intact. Not only that, but he tells them he was seeking godly offspring. This is a puzzling passage and has been interpreted to mean A, that godly offspring are the purpose of marriage; B, that a good marriage between two godly people will mean that any children they have will tend to be godly as well; C, God wanted the Israelites to be faithful to their wives instead of leaving them for foreign women who would produce for them ungodly offspring because of the idolatry of those nations; and D, that God himself was seeking his own offspring to exhibit godliness by their faithfulness. In any of these interpretations, we see a common theme. The children of faithful people will tend to be faithful too. Not only does marriage teach children how to be faithful and give them a stable environment in which to learn and grow, it has a sanctifying effect on both marriage partners when they submit to God's law. Every marriage has difficult moments or difficult dynamics. When two sinful people are trying to create a life together, they must submit to God's command to love each another as God has loved us, selflessly. Our attempts to follow God's commands in our own strength tend to end in failure, and that failure tends to make the believer more aware of his dependence on God and more open to the Spirit's work in him, which tends to result in godliness. And godliness helps us to follow God's commands. So marriage is very helpful for the one trying to live a godly life. It helps to scrub the heart clean of selfishness and other impurities. There's something that was in here that I wanted to respond to. When it said, our attempts to follow God's command in our own strength tend to end in failure. I'm gonna let y'all in on some insight. When me and my wife first got married, right? Everything was cool. Then we started having problems, right? And I'm gonna read some scriptures for y'all in a minute. But basically, when you get married, you're gonna have problems. So when we started having these problems, and it was things that were kind of tough, it was kind of tough to get through. What ended up happening to me is just what this article said. I ran to God for help to deal with the issues that were happening in my marriage. A long time ago, I made a video and I made the comment, I'm trying to lead my wife to God, right? I had got to the point where I said, you know what? I always believed in God. I've always tried my best to be a good person. And, I was aware of sin and things like that. Getting married and going through the struggles that come from marriage caused my relationship with God to get stronger than anything has ever done in my life. I done been through all kinds of stuff. Getting married is the one thing that made me get closer to God. You know what I'm saying? I realized that I cannot do anything worthwhile without God being involved. And that's one of the benefits of getting married. It causes you to be in closer relationship with him. Because truth be told, if you try to do marriage outside of his covering, outside of being in a relationship with him, it's going to fail. And let me finish this article real quick. Marriage also protects individuals from sexual immorality. The world we live in is full of sexual images, innuendo, and temptation. Even if a person doesn't pursue sexual sin, it pursues him or her, and it is very hard to escape it. Marriage provides a healthy place to express sexuality without opening oneself up to the severe emotional and many times physical damage that is caused by casual, non-committed sexual relationships. It is clear that God created marriage for our good, to make us happy, to promote a healthier society, and to produce holiness in our lives. Finally, marriage is a beautiful picture of the relationship between Christ and his church. The body of believers that make up the church are collectively called Bride of Christ. As bridegroom, Jesus gave his life for his bride to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word. And his selfless act provides an example for all husbands. At the second coming of Christ, the church will be united with the bridegroom. The official wedding ceremony will take place, and with it, the eternal union of Christ and his bride will be actualized. So you see what the actual purpose of marriage is. And when you know this, when you study, and if everybody studied the Bible and focused on being godly before they entered into a relationship, then 9 times out of 10 they'll enter into that relationship in a place that will, they'll already be aware. So they're going to conduct themselves in a certain type of way off the rip, right? And then we know that the Bible tells us not to be yoked to unbelievers. So you got two people that's entering into a relationship focused on pleasing God. 9 times out of 10, they're going to have a better relationship. They're going to have an easier time of getting along because they're in alignment. The lady in the video I just played, said that her and her spouse fell out of alignment. And I said in the video that I just, my reaction video to that, is that if you and your spouse are not in alignment anymore, then it's because one or both of y'all are not in alignment with God. And that's just the bottom line. Marriage was created by God. He gave us rules for how to do it. He gave us rules for how to live our lives. He created us. We try to do things in our own way because of free will, right? Because we have our flesh and it is sinful. We go out and we try to do what we want to do and we make a mess of it, just like we do everything. And this is one of the things that I want to spread to everybody that I can come in contact with. Marriage is beautiful. Marriage can yield results that no man or woman can produce when they're by themselves. But when you try to do it and you're ignorant to what the purpose is and what your actual goal is in marriage, that's why people mess their lives up. That's why people end up getting divorced. I want to show y'all another video that kind of sent me down another rabbit hole.
You know, I don't understand for the life of me why married couples think that they're going to be able to withstand troubles. That's going to happen to every marriage. The troubles in your marriage is a direct reflection of the level of your spirit. If your spirit is down here, guess what? You're not going to be able to withstand the attacks. That's going to happen to every marriage. The Bible says with marriage comes trouble. So everyone is going to experience troubles in their marriage. But here's the thing. If you are building up your spirit in the word, in prayer, getting the right mentorship from church or from a men's group or a women's group,
Not Fresh and Fit or any of these other worldly podcasts, because we already know, I done put this in videos before, that worldly wisdom is foolishness to God. And most of these podcasts that you watch where their advice is not from a biblical standpoint, they're helping to set you up for failure in relationships in your future. You know what I'm saying? You try to go about having a relationship in the way that these guys tell men to have a relationship, you setting yourself up for child support, baby mama drama, STDs, broken marriages, failed relationships time and time again, your car windows getting bust out, tires bust, all kind of stuff that go on, right? But the people that you should be taking advice from are the people that are actually trying to do marriage and do it in a godly way. All these other people, like how you see Tony Gaskins always saying that he don't respect people, he don't respect men unless they're married. And he says that if a person isn't married, they shouldn't give marriage advice. This is the reason why. Because these people that sit on these cameras and on these microphones, and they giving you their advice from their worldly point of view, when they out here dating and they out here sleeping around with different men and women, they out here getting drunk, they out here partying and all that other kind of stuff, they're living a lifestyle that's not conducive to a healthy relationship. And they can say, oh yeah, my relationship healthy. This woman that I just showed y'all before, I guarantee you she feel like she's healthy in the mind. I guarantee you she feel like she emotionally intelligent. But soon as a sign of trouble show up, she feel like, oh, it's done got too hard, I can dip. That's not a sign of emotional intelligence. That's not a sign of somebody that is focused on God. You know what I'm saying? Unless your spouse cheats on you, or unless they're doing like they're physically abusing you, emotionally abusing you, like you going through some type of abuse, there's no reason for you to break up your marriage, according to the Bible. If that's not a good enough answer for you, then just stay single and focus on trying to build your relationship with God. Or if you do decide to get married, make sure you are a godly person and you settle for nothing less than a godly spouse. That will help you have a little bit more insurance that you won't end up in a situation that will make you want to leave your spouse so easily.
If your wife or husband, if you're not getting that, that means your spirit is not prepared to handle what your marriage is going to face. And so your flesh is going to rise up to the occasion, and your flesh never resolve issues the right way. You're going to always mess up. You're going to cuss somebody out. You're going to disrespect them. You're going to be rude. You're going to run. You're going to separate. You're going to divorce. You're going to do something crazy because you have not built up your spirit. But it's not too late, y'all.
And then you see that this is a woman. Her page is I can't remember the name of it. I think it's called The Satisfied Wife or something like that. I seen her go viral a few times online. I didn't know who she was until I saw that clip right there earlier today. That's what made me want to dig into who she is a little bit when I heard that message. But what I want to do right now is I want to dig into a little bit of scripture because, like I said earlier, a lot of people don't realize what the actual goal in life is. Like, what's the main thing all of us should be doing? A lot of people don't seem to remember that even in a relationship, you still have to hold on to that. I bet you didn't know that there's a Bible verse that says that husbands should act as if they don't have a wife. Let's go ahead and get into that. 1 Corinthians 7 verse 28 says, but if you do marry, I'm just showing y'all this verse because she said this, and it was people in the comments saying that they didn't even know that the Bible said this. But it says, but if you do marry, you have not sinned, and if a betrothed woman marries, she has not sinned. This is the part where she said in the video, yet those who marry will have worldly troubles, and I would spare you that. This is what I mean, brothers. The appointed time has grown very short. From now on, let those who have wives live as though they had none. It's telling you that time on this earth is short. At the end of the day, your salvation, getting to heaven, your next lifetime, eternity is always going to be the most important thing. And this is the reason why I say you need to marry a godly spouse. It drops down in verse 32. It says, I want you to be free from anxieties. The unmarried man is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to please the Lord. But the married man is anxious about worldly things, how to please his wife, and his interests are divided. And the unmarried or betrothed woman is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to be holy in body and spirit. But the married woman is anxious about worldly things, how to please her husband. I say this for your own benefit, not to lay any restraint upon you, but to promote good order and to secure your undivided devotion to the Lord. Remember when I said that a lot of people in relationships today, they want to come into your life and then they want to be the God in your life? That's most likely going to be an unbeliever. That's what's one of the biggest problems in relationships in society today. The fact that so many of us aren't following God. So many of us aren't reading our Bibles. So many of us aren't repentant. We're out here living in our flesh, willingly sinning. And we're entering into relationships. We fornicating, one night stands, we hooking up. We listening to Sexy Red. We listening to Future. We listening to all the womanizing that Drake talk about in his music. All of those things do not help us when it comes to relationships. But because they make it cool, because it's monetized, because of the jewelry and the fame and the cars and the mansions and the expensive clothes that all these people wear, and they're influencers, right? They influence you, influencing you to live a life outside of God, and they convince you that this is the way to live because it's quote unquote lit. People are out here messing their lives up. And that is what I want y'all to understand. Your goal is to give your undivided devotion to the Lord, whether you single or married. When you get married, you and your wife, you and your husband still have to keep God first. That's the thing that you got to always remember. You're supposed to walk with God, be in relationship with God before you bring somebody else into the relationship. And when you bring somebody into that relationship, they have to have the understanding that we're going to serve God. And then the Bible has all of these beautiful verses that tells us what a man is supposed to do, what a woman is supposed to do, what a husband is supposed to do, what a wife is supposed to do. And they go hand in hand. God don't do nothing out of order. Satan is the author of confusion, not God. So when we do marriage in God's way, we get godly results. That's all I got to say about that. I'll see y'all on the next one.